Hello, greetings exiles. Today I will introduce to you a quite unique and unconventional build in the game Paths of Exile 2. That is the Amazon Huntress wielding a water staff combined with two forms of shapeshift, Wyvern and Wolf. The strength of this build lies in its extremely fast map clearing ability thanks to the flickering strike skill and abundant power charges from the Wyvern's Devour skill. When combined with the Amazon ascendancy like Mystic Harvest that allows you to leech life with elemental damage, you will be able to survive very well when mapping or fighting bosses. Please note that this build is intended for endgame mapping and boss fighting. Therefore, if you are playing through the story mode, just follow the standard Spear Huntress build. Wait until the endgame to switch to this build for better optimization. So, let's dive into the build details right now. I will go through the main skill gems. The first essential skill gem is Wyvern's Devour. When you use Devour, you will transform into a Wyvern and consume a nearly dead monster or a corpse to heal yourself and gain a power charge. If you select a target at a sufficient distance, you will leap to that target and you can use support gems with the leap tag to maximize the effect. The support gems I use include Crater to create fissures that deal fire damage, Charge Perfusion to increase the number of power charges gained, Thrill for the Kill to add a lightning damage buff effect, Empower Sparks as another attack buff effect, and Rapid Attack to reduce cast time. Devour has a drawback of a long animation cooldown, like it needs to finish digesting, and during this time you cannot use most other skills. However, you can cancel the animation in two ways. One is dodge rolling, two is using Wing Blast. And Wind Blast is the second skill gem in this build. When you use this skill, your Wyvern will flap its wings to knock back enemies in front of you and you will move backward a bit. If the enemies in front of you have a nearly full stun bar, Wind Blast will also stun them and you will gain a power charge. The support gems I use for Wind Blast include Charge Perfusion to increase the number of power charges gained, Knockback to increase the knockback distance, Elemental Armament to boost elemental damage, Rapid Attacks to reduce cast time, and Magnify Area to increase the attack range. The special point of Wing Blast is that it can be used to interrupt, meaning it can cancel the animation of other skills, including Devour. So you can combine to create a Devour and Wing Blast combo to maintain the rhythm of killing monsters during map clearing. The last skill in Wyvern form is its basic attack, Rain. When using Rain, your Wyvern will use its wing to strike enemies in front of it. If you have power charges, Rain will consume one power charge to gain a buff effect that adds 50% lightning damage to attacks for 10 seconds. When using Rain with this buff effect active, your attack will be wider but slower. The support gems I use for Rain include Elemental Armament to boost elemental damage, Rapid Attacks to increase attack speed, Close Combat to increase damage when attacking up close, Stun to increase the chance to stun enemies, and Innovate to gain additional lightning damage buff if your attack kills a shocked enemy. Next, I will go through the skill gems in human form. First is the main skill of this build, Flicker Strike. When using Flicker Strike, you will instantly teleport to the target location and attack that target with extremely high damage. At skill gem level 20+6 like I am using, the damage of Flicker Strike reaches up to 511%. If you have power charges, Flicker Strike will consume those power charges to continue teleporting to nearby targets. Each power charge gives you 2 additional strikes. However, Flicker Strike has a drawback that you need to know. It does not immediately teleport and strike the target when you press the skill button. There is a cast time as well, which is about 0.5 seconds with my attack speed. The support gems I use for Flicker Strike include Elemental Armament to boost elemental damage, Stun to increase the chance to stun enemies, Ancestral Call to gain an ancestrally boosted effect every 3 seconds. For strikes, this effect will hit 2 additional nearby targets. Heightened Charge to increase the effectiveness of power charges, and Perpetual Charge to have a chance to use power charges without consuming them. This is one of the strongest skills when using a water stab weapon, and can also be considered one of the strongest skills in this game. Assuming you have 3 power charges, you will basically have a total of 7 consecutive flicker strike hits. Combined with the support gem's heightened charge and perpetual charge, the maximum number of hits can reach up to 19 consecutive strikes if you are lucky. The next skill gem is Siphoning Strike. This skill allows you to dash to the target and attack it. If the target is shocked, there will be an additional shockwave effect that spreads to nearby targets and you will gain a power charge. The special point of this skill is that it has a default 50% stun build-up and 50% chance to apply the Dazed effect. Dazed is a debuff that causes enemies to receive 1.5 times the normal stun build-up. The support gems I use for Siphoning Strike include Close Combat to increase damage when attacking up close, Rapid Attacks to increase attack speed, Stun to increase the chance to stun enemies, Elemental Armament to boost elemental damage, and Charge Profusion to increase the number of power charges gained. The last skill in human form is Charge Staff. When using this skill, all your current power charges will be converted into a buff effect that increases lightning damage for basic attacks. Each power charge will give you additional lightning damage and last for 6 seconds. Additionally, it also provides a shockwave effect that spreads to nearby targets when you hit an enemy. The support gems I use for Charge Staff include Prolonged Duration to increase buff duration, Blazing Critical to gain an additional fire damage buff effect if your attack is critical, and Perpetual Charge to have a chance to use power charges without consuming them, Elemental Armament to boost elemental damage, Heightened Charge to increase the effectiveness of power charges. Next are the skill gems in wolf form. First is Pounce. When using this skill, you will transform into wolf form and leap towards the target, dealing area damage around it, while also applying a predator mark on a target within range. By default, targets with higher rare rating will be prioritized. Marked targets will receive additional damage from your attacks. You can change the type of mark by using a different skill gem in the support gem slot. The support gems I use for Pounce include Freezing Mark to change the mark type to Freezing Mark, which increases freeze build-up and adds 30% cold damage, Holy Defense to heal and reduce effects if you are cursed, Fist of War to increase damage and area of effects of the skill, Cooldown Recovery to reduce cooldown time, and Charge Mark to create a shock round around the marked target. Next is Lunar Assault. When using this skill, you will transform into wolf form and swipe at enemies in front of you, creating a crescent-shaped ice patch. This ice patch will persist for a short time and has the effect of slowing and applying freeze build-up to enemies that pass through it. The strength of Lunar Assault lies in its very high freeze build-up, making it easier for you to freeze enemies, especially bosses. The support gems I use for Lunar Assault include Elemental Armament to boost elemental damage, Deep Freeze to increase freeze duration, Freeze to increase freeze build-up, Rapid Attacks to increase attack speed, and Ice Bite to gain additional cold damage buff if your attack successfully freezes an enemy. The last skill in wolf form is Lunar Blessing. When using this skill, you will transform into wolf form, howl, and receive a buff effect that increases cold damage and moonbeams. When you hit an enemy, a blue beam of light will strike down from the sky onto the target, dealing area cold damage. The maximum limit is 1 moonbeam per second. The support gems I use for Lunar Blessing include Cooldown Recovery to reduce cooldown time, Prolonged Duration to increase buff duration, Cold Mastery to add 1 level to the skill, Second Wind to reduce cooldown time and gain an additional use, and Efficiency to reduce mana cost. 2 final skills I use are Auras. First is Eternal Rage to have the ability to regen rage per second. By default, each rage will increase damage by 1% for all your skills. The last one is Herald of Ash to spread fire damage when you hit enemies and overkill them. Next, I will go through the items. For this build to work, you must have a socketed ring with the attribute of adding 1 skill slot. If you count the skill gems I use, excluding the basic attack, there are a total of 10, while by default, you only have 9 skill slots. Therefore, you need to have a socketed ring that adds 1 skill slot. to be able to use all these skill gems. The second essential item is a necklace that adds spirit. The total spirit I use is 130, while by default you only have 100 spirit. Therefore, you need to have a necklace that adds 30 spirit to be able to activate the aura skills. As for the weapon, it obviously has to be a water staff and talisman to use shapeshift skills. The simplest way is to find a weapon with the highest DPS within your budget. As for the headgear, I use Viper Cap to have the attribute of reducing the number of monsters needed to be considered surrounded. After update 0.4, surrounded can no longer go down to 0, but my build direction is full melee so it doesn't affect much. To optimize, you can look for a Viper Cap with the attribute of reducing the number of monsters by 4, which is fine, while mine has 5 monsters, which is a bit excessive. If you don't have enough budget to buy Viper Cap, you can replace it with any helmet that has good defense stats, adds maximum life, energy shield, armor, or evasion rating. As for body armor, I use Morio Invictus to gain additional maximum life and elemental resistance based on the number of sockets you have. I have a total of 4 sockets, so I receive an additional 20% maximum life and 40% elemental resistance. Additionally, this item also provides you with other decent defense stats, including energy shield, armor, and evasion rating. As for gloves, you can look for ones that have life leech attributes along with defense stats. As for boots, you can look for ones that have movement speed attributes, at least 25% for decent mobility, and focus on defense stats for the rest. As for the belt, if you have the budget, go for Headhunter to increase map clear speed, otherwise you can use any belt with good defense stats. As for charms, I focus on using charm to resist slow and freeze effects, because in endgame, if you stop for too long, the chance of dying is very high. As for flask, just focus on life flask. Look for ones that heal the most and the fastest within your budget. Next, the passive tree. The main nodes I focus on are increasing damage, life leech, maximum life, rage, power charges, and the rest are invested in defense stats like armor or evasion rating. However, there are some important nodes that you need to take, including Falcon Dive to increase attack speed based on your accuracy rating, Blood Magic to convert mana cost into life cost, and Tribal Fury to activate the splash damage effect for skills with the strike tag, including Flicker Strike, Siphoning Strike, and Rend. If you use a Viper Cap like me, you should also take the surrounded node to optimize the helmet's effect, including nodes that increase damage and defense when you are in a surrounded state. Here, I further optimize damage by taking the Inspiring Ally node, which allows damage points allocated for companions to also add to your damage. From there, you can look for additional nodes that increase damage for companions to indirectly boost your own damage. As for power charges, you can take the Lust for Power node plus 1 maximum power charge and Overflowing Power plus 2 maximum power charge to increase the maximum number of power charges you can have. For the dual sockets, I focus on increasing damage, attack speed, and damage for companions, which also increases my own damage. For the ascendancy, I use Mystic Harvest to leech life with elemental damage, Critical Strike to increase critical chance based on accuracy rating, and Predator, Instinct, and In for the kill to enhance combat effectiveness against rare monsters and bosses. To summarize the items and passive tree, you just need to balance your defense stats enough to survive, including all elemental resistances at the maximum level of 75%, maximum life or energy shield as high as possible, armor or evasion rating just enough, and the rest should be focused on damage. Viper Cap and Headhunter are nice to have but not essential. Finally, the guide on how to play this build. When you first enter the map, you don't have any buffs active, so the best way is to activate Lunar Blessing first to gain additional cold damage and moonbeams, and use Lunar Assault to easily clear the initial groups of monsters. Especially in maps with Delirium or Twisted Domain, the initial monsters will be numerous and strong, so playing in wolf form is the optimal way. Once you have cleared a certain amount of monster, you can start using Devour to consume corpses to gain power charges. If there are nearby monsters, remember to use Wind Blast to cancel the Devour animation. Once you have enough power charges, you can use Flicker Strike to start clearing the map quickly. Remember to also incorporate the basic attack ran in Wyvern form to take advantage of the lightning damage buff effect from power charges. The combo I often use is Devour, Wind Blast, then Flicker Strike, occasionally combined with the basic attack ran to quickly traverse the map. When entering a boss fight, make sure you have full power charges. If not, consume nearby corpses to gain power charges before entering the boss area. Before entering combat, use basic attacks to activate the buff effect, then use the remaining power charges to activate Charge Staff. Then activate Lunar Blessing, pounce onto the boss to apply Freezing Mark, and use Lunar Assault to quickly freeze the boss. Then use Siphoning Strike to gain power charges and increase the boss's stun bar. When you have enough power charges, you can continue using basic attacks until the freeze effect ends if the boss is tough. Once the freeze ends, use Flicker Strike to deal damage quickly. Since you initially used power charges to activate Charge Staff, your Flicker Strike will be very powerful now. In case the boss is not too tough, after gaining enough power charges, you can use Flicker Strike to finish off the boss immediately. Actually, in this build, I wanted to use Tempest Bell instead of Charge Staff because I believe Tempest Bell would provide better damage effectiveness. However, currently, Tempest Bell does not work with Siphoning Strike, so I have to use Charge Staff temporarily. Hopefully, GGG will fix this issue in future updates. Additionally, there is another way to play where you can use the skills Oil Barrage or Flame Breath to utilize power charges to finish off bosses. However, to optimize the effectiveness of these two skills, you need to invest in other passive tree nodes and items, so I will share that with you in another video. In summary, this is a build that requires you to skillfully combine many skills, rather than simply spamming a few skills like other builds. Therefore, you need to practice a lot to master this playstyle. In return, you will have a very enjoyable gameplay, being highly mobile while entering and exiting combat continuously, dealing amazing damage, and having good survivability thanks to abundant life leech. Feels like you playing Lee Sin in League of Legends. At the end of the video, I have included full gameplay of a map and a boss fight for you to refer to in detail, allowing you to make a more accurate assessment of this build. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you find this content useful, don't forget to like and subscribe to support me. If you have any questions, suggestions, or want me to make a video about another build, feel free to leave a comment below. I will try to respond to all your comments. Goodbye and have a nice day.
ささやく夜にたゆたう影たちの息、運命の糸をなぞるまま燃え尽きる瞳の中、金色の刃が光る心の奥底に響く、闇を貫くこの一瞬、嘆きの声は絶えぬまま、切なに生きる戦士たち、強さと涙をつなぐ糸、絆に誓うその覚悟、命をかけて守る。花咲く頃には忘れじ、懐かしい風の声、炎と共に舞い上がれ、希望の翼広げて、時は流れても消えぬ心に刻まれた誓い、平和の記憶として魂に灯る炎を、切なに生きる戦士たち、強さと涙をつなぐ糸、絆に誓